Moin Leute, herzlich willkommen zu diesem Video. Hier ist euer Spiele 6 zum ersten Video der Halloween-Woche. Ja, wir starten die Halloween-Woche mit einem fröhlichen oder eher gesagt schaurigen mit einer schaurigen Minecraft-Map namens Dagon. Die soll sehr, sehr gruselig sein, aber na, das werden wir sehen. Ja, wir sind hier in einem Raum 3x3 reingeklatscht worden und starten jetzt mal rein. Ohne Optifine ist die Map funktioniert bei mir nicht. Bist du sicher, dass du Optifine installiert hast? Ich glaube nicht. Aber Loaded FOV muss auf 95 sein. Ich weiß immer noch nicht, wo man die FOV einstellen kann. Oh Mann. Da. 95. Ja, 95. Oh mein Gott. Jetzt will ich mich hier ganz schön verbuschelt. So. Ja. Ich konnte nicht mal was auswählen. Zeit gestartet. Was spielen wir hier? Oh mein Gott.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine, that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Okay, wir werden ja einfach reingeworfen. Okay, alles gut.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific.
Jetzt sind wir auf einem Boot.
Of course, everything seemed quite normal at first.
Hallo. Ja, sie putzen. Gute Idee. Ja, wissen Sie, wo es weitergeht? Ja, sie machen es sehr gut. Machen Sie weiter. Erstmal Fuß gebrochen.
Unfortunately, the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Ich kann hier nicht weg. Ja! Was passiert?
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel made a legitimate prize, while we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Okay.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Okay, jetzt genau. Soll ich zu dem Boot? Was soll ich denn? Was passiert? Ach, ich soll zum Boot.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Hier ist ein Backpack.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Also wir waren jetzt auf einem Boot. Also wir sind so Diktator, glaube ich. Wir waren auf einem Boot, wurde das angegriffen, das ist untergegangen fast und wir haben uns jetzt in Sicherheit gebracht.
Waiting either for some passing ship, or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land. But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Okay. Okay.
The change happened while I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous. When at last I awaked, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire. And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
Gehen wir unter Wasser?
The sun was blazing down from the sky, which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet. There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
Ein übles Gefühl, okay. Da.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
Oh mein Gott, was passiert hier? Da. Was passiert? Ich bin verwundert.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface. Exposing regions which for innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the land which had risen beneath me, that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, strain my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Okay.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness, and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Okay.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey.
Das Spiel ist gut. Also die
On
Map
the
ist zwar
third
gut.
morning I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
Wo kommt denn das jetzt her? Ich kann ein bisschen rumlaufen. Ah, hier.
I need my backpack before I go.
Oh, wie cool. Ich habe ein Backpack.
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set our boldly for an unknown goal.
Was ist passiert? Was war das?
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock, which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Was war das? Also, nee. Was? Wahrscheinlich muss ich hier rein, weil das ist eine Höhle. Hallo? Ist jemand irgendwie hier? Ist ein Boot gekentert in der Höhle. Aber wie? Nur bin ich jetzt eingesperrt.
Well, looks like there's a source of light shining through that crack up there. If only I could find a way
Ich
to
habe,
get
glaube
up
ich, alles
to it,
übersprungen, weil er wollte gerade sagen,
I'd
dass wir
be
einen anderen
able
Weg
to
gerade nach
escape
draußen
this
finden.
place. I need to take a look.
Dann finde ich auf dem Boot etwas.
The sun's rays do not usually reach deep in water caves, no wonder it's so wet here.
Hier ist ein Hai.
If I found something sharp, I could use it to cut the torn mast, causing it to fall. There's something in these barrels, but I can't open them with my bare hands. It's an old shipwork, and yet the lamps are still working.
Merkwürdig. Also ich muss das Pass auch bekommen, kann es aber nicht öffnen mit meiner Hand.
I could pry
Ich kann doch
a
gerade nicht
barrel with
draufdrücken.
bones, but these ones are too brittle to be useful.
Wir hatten da hinten noch Knochen. Muss ja gucken, wo diese Symbol ist. Weil dieses Symbol zeigt mir ja auch an, was ich machen muss. Ist da auch Wasser? Ja, da ist auch Wasser. Da ist das nächste Symbol.
What if I made one of the stalactites fall on top of this barrel? I guess it's worth a try. Now, I need to find something to break off a stalactite.
Steine. Und jetzt? Ich hab das jetzt, aber ich weiß nicht, wo es weitergeht. Ah, stimmt, das müssen wir ja kaputt machen. Da war eine Säge drin. Da war eine Säge drin. Interessant.
That night I encamped, and on the following day still traveled toward the another hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it. By the fourth evening I attained the base of the mount, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance, an intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Okay, ich soll erstmal schlafen, oder? Oder wie jetzt? Oder wie so ein Luftspiel. Dass man so draußen an den Garten hängt. So ein Glockenspiel, so ein Glockenspiel. Einfach aufgehört. Okay. Was muss ich jetzt da machen? Das war hell. Nicht schon wieder das. Hatten wir schon vorhin. Das ist irgendwas. Aber ich weiß immer noch nicht was. Was kommt? Habe ich ein Radio bei mir? Oh.
Don't let him come too close to you, he'll catch you if he can.
Okay. Habe ich jetzt was gerufen mit dem Song oder was? Hallo?
I don't know why my dreams were so wild that night, but when the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again.
Wie kann ich denn vor allem so lange unter Wasser leben?
and
wenn
in
es
the
überhaupt
glow of
über
the
die
moon
unter
I
Wasser
saw how
bin.
unwise I had been to travel by day.
Weil hier sind ja Fische, also müsste ich ja unter Wasser sein. Er hat ja auch geschrieben
Without the
Underwater
glare
Cave
of the
vorhin.
parching
Das heißt, ich bin
sun,
unter Wasser.
my journey would have cost me less energy. I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Okay. Wo gehen wir hin?
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mount and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon. Whose black recesses the moon had not yet sorted high enough
Warum
to
hier unten
illumine.
Möwen sind, das ist mir ein bisschen was Neues. Dass da Unterwassermöwen sind. Die neuen Unterwassermöwen, kennt man die schon?
I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent, while after a drop of a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual. Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps where no light had yet penetrated. Then, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Gibt's einen Turm?
It was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
Mhm.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith.
Ja, da im Kreis ganz etwas.
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely. The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steps that hemmed in the chasm. And revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the monolith on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Da sind Zeichen drauf. Da waren Schriftzeichen drauf.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphic unknown to me, and unlike anything I had ever seen in books. Consisting for the most part of conventionalist aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
Der ist jetzt nicht so.
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world. It was pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound. I think that these things were supposed
Das sind
to
zwei
depict
Meerjungfrauen.
men, at least, a certain sort of men. Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. They were damnably human in general outline despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips. Curiously enough, they seemed to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing while the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then suddenly I saw this thing. The water started to behave strangely. Then the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Jo, was ist das denn? Was macht das?
I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little. I believe I sang a great deal, and laughed oddly when I was unable to think properly. I have indistinct recollections of a big storm some time after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard peals of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing.
Also wir wurden jetzt ins Krankenhaus gebracht, weil uns ein Kapitän eines Schiffes gefunden hat. Mitten im Ozean.
I asked myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken. Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist, and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god. but soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries. It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the
Jetzt bin ich wieder
thing.
da, wo alles angefangen hat. Wieder in meinem Büro.
I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a
Nur dass
hopeless
es dunkel
slave.
ist. Also hell.
So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information. People will decide whether to use my notes as a source of knowledge or ridiculous mockery. The end is near.
Was passiert? Was passiert?
Hello? Hello? Sir? Hello? Sir, please?
Ich habe mich umgebracht, weil ich verrückt geworden bin. Weil ich einfach unter traumatischen Stress stand wahrscheinlich. Oh mein Gott. Wie abgefahren. Das war so eine geile Map. Es war wie krass man sich das ausdenken konnte. Oder wie man sich das ausdenken kann. Das ist halt dieses Rache. Es ist halt krass, was halt man als Entwickler alles macht. Map bei Kazar, ja. Wie bei anderen Maps ist die Map unten in der Beschreibung verlinkt. Dagon, der Fischgott. The end. Thank you very much for playing my map. Feel free to play my other maps that you can find on Minecraft Maps with Nickname Kazar. Ja, Leute, damit war's es. Es war eine relativ krasse Map und es ist auch krass. Es ist krass gewesen für den Anfang der Halloween-Woche. Es ist eine krasse Map gewesen. Wir haben uns ein bisschen gegruselt wegen diesen Glitches der Kreatur, diesen Pillar, also dieser Säule da mit diesen Schriftzeichen drauf. Waren wir in dem Krankenhaus. Und dann haben wir uns am Ende einfach umgebracht, weil wir einfach unter traumatischen Stress standen. Wir waren so in einem traumatischen Stress drin, dass wir einfach nicht mehr konnten und einfach aus dem Fenster gesprungen sind. Ja, Leute, danke fürs Zusehen dieses Videos. Ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Danke, dass ihr euch diese Videos immer anschaut und dass ihr die auch immer so positiv bewertet. Lasst gerne ein Like da, abonniert gerne und bis zum nächsten Mal. Bis zum zweiten Video von der Halloween-Woche. Ciao. Und macht gerne einen Like und schaut gerne beim Teamkanal vorbei. Da wird nämlich auch ein paar Videos kommen. Ciao.